Welcome. I'm Caitlin Domer of virtualcoachingsales.com. Today we are so excited to have our guest, Alionka. I know I'm pronouncing your first name right, but Polanco, is that right?
Yeah, you got it. They
Alionka Polanco.
almost, yeah.
I love your name. It just saying it makes me really happy. It's great. She is a life and success coach for powerful women. She's the author of Beyond Profit, The Successful Woman's Guide to a Meaningful Life. She graduated from New York University's Personal Life Coaching Certification Program. And then she mentioned in passing that true success requires courage. And I really love that phrase. She's been doing masterminds and one-on-ones, helping people from all over the world, including Dubai and Australia, and really helping people to unlock their potential and achieve their highest and best self. So, Alionka, I'm so excited to have you today. And just tell us a little bit about, I know that you're kind of a success coach, you're a life coach, you're helping people to be more successful, right? Yeah. But how do you even define success, right? How does that, let's just start with that basic premise, because I feel like there's a lot of people thinking different things. They're like, am I successful? Am I not successful? So where would you start on what is success? How do you define success?
Absolutely. So I think that's a great question. And I think I don't have a cookie cutter answer because I feel like success is truly self-defined, right? So I think for every person, I say this a lot to my students in my mastermind, your success is going to be as individual as your thumbprint. So there are no two people who are going to achieve the exact same thing the exact same way. So I think the work, part of the reason that I'm so passionate about vision work is because you have to define your vision of success for yourself. No one else can do that. And I think, just the way that we grow up, our parents have the best of intentions for us, but they probably have their version of success, right? That's different from your personal version of success. Or maybe you've had teachers who influence you along the way or mentors, but ultimately, you're the only person that can really define that for yourself.
I love that. So I put in the chat, how do you define success? For those of you guys watching the replay, put in the notes in the comments, how do you define success for yourself? I will say that one of the most helpful things for me personally was somebody said success is making progress towards your own goal. And that felt really nice, like so far as definitions go, because I think you're right. For some people, it'll mean a money number. For some people, it'll mean a happiness quotient, right? And then the happiness, how do you even measure that, right? So there's a lot of different pieces that go into success, but I want you guys to each start thinking about that question for yourself. Like, how do I define success? What would that look like for me? And then how do you begin experiencing true success, right? What recommendations would you give to somebody who's like, well, I want to be more successful, right? How do they start experiencing a greater level of success in their life, Alionka?
Totally. So once you define it, then you have to go after it, right? So it's great to have this picture to like pull you forward and keep you motivated and keep you inspired. And then you have to like do stuff about it. So I talk a lot about taking aligned action. And what I mean by that is once you have your personal vision of success, then you've got to identify the actions that are on the path to that success, right? Because I think
an example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's say that you're a mom and you want to start a business so that you can stay home with your kids, right? My sister just had a baby, so I'm trying to convince her to start a business. But let's say that's your situation. And so you know that the vision is that you want to create a profitable business that lets you stay at home with your kids, where you can be mom number one and business owner number two. Right? Then the aligned action would be to find a business model that actually allows for that. right? That actually allows for you to not maybe be the face of the company so much, but where you can do things behind the scenes, where you can have a team with you. And then the next aligned action would be to start hiring the people that can help you with this, right? So it's like making sure that every step that you take is on the right street, right? Like it's on the right road leading to that vision of success.
And you know what I heard when you were describing the success, the goal, the getting clear on what success was like, defining that for yourself. The thing that I thought was beautiful was that it wasn't necessarily a kind of how I'm going to get there. It's the end result beyond what I see. So people who want to start their business, right? We almost never start it because we want to be worrying about payroll and we want to be figuring out accounting, and we really want to just rack our brains on how we're going to get more leads this month, right? We all start our business for that ultimate end result that we want to achieve. We want more freedom. We want more time with our loved ones. We want more discretionary income so we can do those, fulfill the righteous fantasies. Somebody just gave me that phrase. Like, we're put on earth to fulfill our righteous fantasies. I'm like, I am quoting that one, right? So how do, like, so what I loved is that when you do your goal setting, what I've heard is not that I'm going to build $1 million business and I'm going to have 20 clients and I'm going to have 15 support people. Like, it wasn't how I'm going to get there. It's this is what I want that to look like. This is at the end result, because it gives you some flex on how you're going to get there. And it allows the divine, which I know you and I both agree there, that the divine really steps in a really powerful way to help get you to that goal. But the more clear you can get on the end results, the after the goal piece, this is how I'm going to feel, this is what it's going to experience, what that experience is going to feel like, I think is really what I heard as a really powerful piece, to not get kind of wrapped up on the, I don't know how this is going to happen, which a lot of us, I think, do.
I think too, it's like there's a difference between vision and goals, right? And there's a time for one and a time for other, right? Like when you're doing your strategic business planning, for sure, set your goals, set your benchmarks, but the vision is different. That is like the ultimate reason why. It's like, I just think of it like a beautiful painting, and right, like we probably add stuff to it as we go along in life, but it's just this beautiful picture that's bringing us closer and closer and closer to it.
Absolutely. And I know that this is like a phrase of yours, like anything is possible. And I realize, I mean, that can sound a little trite, except that I know some of your story and I know that you have lived this out. But tell me a little bit more, like, what does that really mean to have an anything is possible mindset?
Totally. That's a great question. I think when we think about what is possible, it's like, I mean, I feel like I could give so many political examples right now, but I won't go into that. I just feel like when we are doing this work of growing businesses and growing ourselves, right? Because I really think that entrepreneurship is the biggest lesson in personal development you could ever ask for. Like,
absolutely.
I don't know what other path is quickest to like your potential becoming realized. And so on that journey, I think most importantly is like being positive, right? Expecting great things. And I think when you turn on this mindset of anything is possible, it just opens up so many other doors for us. And I talk a lot about...
an example. Yeah. Either in your personal life or for one of your clients, but help me understand how that shift makes such a big difference.
So I once had a client come to me. She already had a really successful company, multiple six figures. They were really happy with like what they were doing in the business. But when I met her, she was ready to sell it. Like she was so fed up. She was so frustrated with like the day in, day out of her business that she was like, you know, if something doesn't shift, I have to sell this business. Like this is not why I got into this. And by working together and just opening her mind to like, what else is possible? What else is possible? I think that was 2 years ago that we met, 2015. She still has a business. She's running it in a way that she loves. She was able to take maternity leave, which at the time, part of the reason that the business wasn't working for her was like, if I have to be so present, how could I ever have children? Like, how could I ever, like give birth? And so that had to become a thing. Like, okay, you're looking at it from the negative, like, how could this ever, why, like, this isn't going to happen, versus how could I make this happen? What is possible when it comes to my business? What's possible when it comes to my family? What's possible? And so that's why I say, like, having the mindset of anything is possible. My face is warm even talking about it, because it just opens up so many possibilities. And I think to something you said before, Caitlin, is like leaving room for the divine to come in. When we adopt this mindset of anything is possible, we stop holding on to it so hard, right? We there's a universal magical thing that comes into play as well. And so the more and more we can just feel into anything's possible, the more likely we are to experience all the good stuff.
Right, absolutely. And I don't know that the siren's on my end, but somebody's having an emergency somewhere.
I tell my clients that the sirens means that we're spitting truth, like we're talking real talk.
Truth has been spoken. I love it. And I will just reiterate that. I mean, one of my big mindset shifts, you mentioned business and kids, right? So I remember I got to this point in my business, it was like, well, I can't grow my business any bigger because I'm going to have to sacrifice my motherhood. And it was actually my husband who kind of called me out on that one. He's like, well, what if you shifted that and said, I have to grow my business to a certain level so that I can be the kind of mom that I want to be. And it just kind of took the lid off of what I had expected and thought was possible. So if you really open it up and you ask yourself, right, what would I love in this scenario? And then what do I hate? Sometimes it's easier to get out. What do I hate about my life right now? And get all of that junk out and then say, well, what do I love? What would I like more of? And then what you're saying is, just weave this into a vision of what would it be possible to have everything you love and none of what you don't. Yeah. And what would make this a realistic dream and kind of build that out. So walk me through when you're working with your clients, right? If you could give some tips. So we're sitting here, I don't really know what I want to do with my life. Or I will say right now I have a really clear 12-month plan of what I want to do. But my own coach asked me, well, where do you want to be in 10 to 15 years? And I was like, I'm so happy right now. I don't even know. Like, just keep doing what I'm doing, I guess. But so tell me, what would you recommend to somebody if you were going to start working with them? What questions would you want them to ask themselves?
Totally. Well, first and foremost, kind of like what you said, I actually do think it's important to identify what's not working, right? Mm-hmm. So if you could wave a magic wand, what would be different right now?
Yeah.
And then this is a little bit woo, but then I like to forgive what's not working, right? Like make peace.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Forget for whether it's other people or most often it's yourself that you're forgiving, right? Just let it go to make space for all the new stuff that we're going to create.
Oh. And I got shivers. I love that. That was beautiful.
Oh,
that's great.
Thank you. And then after that, we dive into the vision work. So what I do is actually like similar to how your coach asked you. I say 10 years from now, if you lived in an ideal world, right? I have them close their eyes. We take deep breaths together. 10 years from now, if you lived in an ideal world, what would you be experiencing? And I have them take me through their day, like from the moment they wake up, where are they waking up? Who are they in bed next to? Who's the first person that they speak to that day? I have them take me through the entire day in an ideal world 10 years from now. And once we have
that,
like the vision and the feeling as well, right? Because I don't think you can really talk about vision without attaching a feeling to it. Then we jump back to 5 years. So if this is what you want in 10 years, what needs to be in place at the 5-year mark to make that a reality?
Sure.
Right? And then we jump back to 1 year. So like in the next 12 months, what shifts do you need to make? What projects need to, where do we need to get the ball rolling? What do you need to release? What do you need to let go of? And that's kind of how I think that's how I bring the woo into the strategy, right? We start with the vision, and then we can talk about the plan for the next 12 months.
Yeah, I love that. And I don't ever apologize for the woo with me, right? Because I feel like that's absolutely where the power is. Like you mentioning this, how do you feel? And I've pretty much bought into the whole Abraham Hicks notions that our emotions are our compass. And if your emotions are telling you this feels icky, then you're going to be stuck, or you're going to be going the opposite direction. But if it feels great, it's so easy to lean into that. And so I love that you kind of, I love that you forgive, because that is huge. But then how does it feel to be living your ideal life, your perfect world sort of piece? So that was really great. Now, I know you wrote a book called Beyond Profit, The Successful Women's Guide to a Meaningful Life, right? What inspired that? What would people get out of it, right? What's the core message that you really want people to hear?
Yeah, the core message is that you can have anything and everything you desire. And the book takes you through my entire visioning process. So I talked a little bit about it now, but it's basically like, if you were to hire me for a VIP day, you would get the same questions that you get in the book, right?
Okay.
Takes you through that exact process. And the reason why I wrote it is because I had this experience with this one business owner, the one that I was talking about before, and I was just so surprised at how unhappy she was. Because from the outside, like her profit margins were great, the revenue was on the outside, everything looked so perfect. And a lot of what I do is like being a confidant to some business leaders, right? Safe space for them. And I was just like, if she's going through this, that was my first CEO client. That was like 2 years ago. But I remember just thinking, there must be so many other women business owners who are going through this as well, that on the outside, everything looks perfect, but on the inside, they're either miserable or they're confused. They don't know what's next for them. And so I really wrote this book to be a guide in how to get out of the icky feeling and how to figure out what's next for that person. And so I think what people get out of it is that they feel like they're clear. Right? You read the book, and it's actually like a workbook. It reads like a workbook. So there are exercises, it's interactive. And once you answer all of those questions, you just feel so much clearer in terms of where you're going. And I called it Beyond Profit because I felt like I love working with business owners. That's like my favorite demographic to work with. And I just felt like so much business training is on strategy and on like funnels, which are awesome. I love talking about that too. But I really wanted to start a dialogue in business, like personal development for business leaders.
Yeah,
right?
And I guess so I know that getting clarity and vision, a lot of people talk about it, right? We all admit that we need it, but I will say it took me a lot of self-work for me to admit that I needed it, right? As opposed to it's needed, right? Everybody else needs this, but I'm a visionary, right? I have my vision. I've always had my vision. But I guess, how would you articulate the importance? What are the implications of this work that you do with your clients?
I love that question, Caitlin. I think the truth is the person who creates the vision is not the person who's going to experience the vision. So in the process, in the journey of getting to that vision, you're going to change and you're going to become a different person, right? And so the implication of not focusing on it is that you don't grow as a person. And I like really firmly believe this, that the person who has the vision is not the person who sees it later on, right? Like you have to grow into that version, that vision of yourself. And so I think like I have seen this with a lot of entrepreneurs. It's like you start a business and all of a sudden you start a little bit of personal development and then you go into spirituality, and it's just like this cycle of like business, personal, spiritual, business, personal, spiritual. And so I think it's just a natural part of the cycle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm so excited to download my copy because you said that to me, but I'm going to send it to everybody else as well. So the Beyond Profit, the Successful Woman's Guide to a Meaningful Life, if you go to Alionka Polanco, let me share my screen, what I'm looking at right now. AlionkaPolanco.com/Beyond Profit, and it's her free download. I am excited to grab mine and encourage you guys to grab yours. I'm going to put my personal email address there. So now all of you guys have it. We're ready to edit this next time. But I think that, like what you're saying, this is so important. No matter what stage of life, no matter what stage of business you're in, you need somebody who can be seen farther than you can, right? So I'm speaking to my fellow business owners, right? You know that your team, your clients, your relation, the partners in your life, right? They are depending on you to see what's ahead. That's the very nature of leadership. And so if you get to a place where you're trapped in this mist of self-doubt or just feeling tired, I will say this because my son's still not sleeping through the night, right? Whatever that kind of miasma that's making you feel like you can't see where you want to go and you don't have that clarity, that you're really setting your team up for failure. And you need somebody like Alionka who can come alongside you in the crow's nest of your ship with you, right? And see farther than you can see for yourself, see a greater vision than you can see for yourself, help pull you out of the mist so that you can really plan the path with courage and integrity. So Alionka, I so appreciate the work that you're doing in the world and the ways that you're serving people. Any last words for us, like maybe a favorite quote or a last piece of parting wisdom that you'd want to share with us?
Totally. Well, thank you first and foremost for having me. I think one of my favorite quotes, it's just been in my heart for the past year and a half, and that is that as long as there is breath, there's room to rise. And I think for a lot of visionaries, you know, my background is in acting. There's a famous quote, like, there are actors and there are real people, right? Like, it's like there are business owners and then there are people. Like, we're just a totally different breed. And so that quote just reminds me, like, it's so normal to keep wanting to advance, right? To keep wanting to grow. And I define fulfillment as the pursuit of your highest potential. So inherent is like motion. Like, you've got to be in motion to feel fulfilled. So yeah, that would be my last quote to leave people with.
And pursuit of your highest potential. And I think that really is huge. Like, it's that core of success, right? It's making progress towards what we view as worthwhile, which kind of brings us full circle. So it's beautiful. Love it. Well, thank you so much, Alionka, and we'll be in touch, but thank you so much for being on our call and sharing your wisdom with us. All right, everybody, go to AlionkaPolanco.com/Beyond Profit and get your copy of her book, and be visionaries. Bye, guys.